Hello everyone, this is Will from Apple One-to-One Trading. Today's video is all about macOS Tahoe, and our focal point is going to be how we organize Windows. We have all these different things going on, and what we need to do is figure out, hey, where am I going to organize this? How am I going to work around the screen? And in macOS Tahoe, they introduced some new features that we're going to talk about. Plus, we're going to talk about just the simple old features they've been having around forever, and we're going to discuss them and how we can organize our Windows. Please like and subscribe all of our content, everybody. We really do appreciate all the feedback we've been getting here. We still have our old email right here if you ever want to email us and contact us if you have any questions or comments or concerns. And let's go over how we use Windows. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a change that happened in macOS 26, and that is this little icon right here. And what they've done is they allowed you to change how a window moves and fills an entire screen. So first thing is, we have two different sections here, plus the full screen area. So number one is move and resize is all about this particular window. It's taking this window and moving it into different quadrants. So it's pretty easy to understand. All you got to do is just leave your arrow, and then you get the options, and then we're just going to click on this one. It'll move it to the right, and only that window moved to the right. And if I, again, just going back up here to the bottom, it's just pretty easy to understand. Let's talk about what else is in here. One of them is called Fill and Arrange. So Fill and Arrange is taking all your windows and moving them around. So I'm going to go to the one where it has 4 quadrants, and now they have just organized it in 4 quadrants. If I use my mission control, which is the 3 fingers on the trackpad, and I slide up, you can see I actually have 4 different apps here. So it took 4 apps and it actually organized it. I think the order of how it figures that out is that it's taking the last used items. So if I go over to this again, I do the 4 quadrants. You can see now it actually moved the maps because I clicked on maps. That's why. But if I clicked on notes, and let's say I move notes around, I can just drag anywhere on the top of the bar. Anywhere there's like an empty space, you can move that around. And I do the same thing with notes. It's going to take that, and now it organizes it that way. So we have taken 5 windows, and we are reorganizing them. And let's even try another option. So I actually just did full screen there. I'm going to hit Escape. Try that again. And then we're going to do Fill and Arrange. So if I want to take my web browser and move it to the left, it then shifts everything to the right. So that's how that works. Now, we're going to talk about full screen. There's an option where you could take this app itself to be full screen or only have it to the left and right. What this is going to do is it's going to make a brand new desktop space for you. And if I go and click the left, when I do that, you can see the other windows have kind of been shrunken and they have this blue highlight. Well, the idea of that is if you want to, what is the other app that you want to fill the screen with? So if I go over to Notes and I click it, what it's now done is it's now blown it up, and now we have made our own desktop space with just these 2 apps. But now if I swipe up using 3 fingers, which is mission control, you can now see I have my desktop, I have Safari and Notes, and I have Final Cut Pro. So Final Cut Pro is a full screen app all on its own. And then if I swipe up with 3 fingers, I go over to now Safari and Notes, and if I swipe up with 3 fingers, I'm now going to my desktop, which now only has 3 apps. I can actually also shift over to those other items. So instead of doing the swipe up, and I can go up here and do it, I can also use 4 fingers on my trackpad. And if I go swipe to the left, now, there we go, swipe to the left, and I can't swipe to the left anymore because there's nothing else full screen, so I swipe to the right, swipe to the right. Now, on a mouse, you could do the same thing. So I'm using the Apple mouse, and because it has a touch feature built into the mouse, I can now swipe left with 2 fingers, swipe left with 2 fingers, and that's how you do it on the mouse. So I'm going to be switching between the mouse and the trackpad, just in case you have both on here. So what if I want to get out of this and I don't want to do this anymore? Well, I can go to the green icon, and what this will do now is it can make it a full screen. So if you rather just have it by itself, you could do that. Move window to desktop, or replace tiled window. So let's say that I don't want this window anymore. If I click on it, it's now letting me choose something else. So if I use Maps, now it's replaced it with Maps. If I go to the icon again and move window to desktop, it's going to move Maps now over to here as its own space on the main desktop screen. If I swipe over now, Notes has become a full screen app. And now I'm going to just click it again, and now we're back to the 5 windows we had before, and that's how we have now organized it. So that just shows you going to the green dot, which is your maximize if you want to talk about what that used to be. It now has multiple features built into it. Let's talk about another macOS Tahoe feature they introduced, and I'm going to kind of mess up my windows here. I'm going to resize them just by dragging the corners. I mean, I know a lot of people probably think that's basic stuff, but you know what? Some people don't know you can do that. So I'm just going to move it around, and let's just mess up the space up here. Okay, so now we have our windows all messed up. And what we're going to try now is, again, going back to mission control, is that if you use mission control, you can use the 3 fingers on the trackpad, and I'm actually going to show you how to learn that. So if you go into system settings, all right, so I'm in the trackpad feature, kind of skip forward, but inside of more gestures, there is a section here that talks about all the different gestures that you can do with your fingers. So you can swipe between pages, you can go swipe between full screen apps, which we just talked about, and then you could swipe up with 3 fingers with mission control. Now that is a default feature, but you can switch it to 4 if you wanted to. You could do app expose. App expose is if I swipe down with 3 fingers, it focuses on the app that you want to be in the front. Now, beyond that, I don't honestly use app expose. I don't have like a reason to do that. I honestly don't even like it. I would probably rather do the swipe down for something else, to be real honest with you. But it's here or there. So that just explains like the features in the trackpad. The mouse also does have more gestures as well, and this was what I was talking about, where you could swipe with 2 fingers. You could double tap with 2 fingers on the mouse, 1, 2, and then that does the same thing. I do find that is, you might click a little more because of that, but the mouse is great. I wish the Apple mouse didn't have the stupid charger on the bottom. Beyond that, that's a separate issue, but it has some really nice features to do that. All right, so that's mission control. A little bit about that. So again, you can find some value into mission control. Again, trackpad feature wise, it's a really good feature. The new feature in macOS Tahoe is you can actually take a window now and move it into corners. So if I drag Maps as an example, and I drag my arrow all the way to the left, now it has to touch, you're going to see my screen. You can see this little white outline going around the screen. What that's telling the machine to do is, because I'm hitting the corner here on the edge, it's telling me it's going to make this app and fill in this space. So if I drag it and let go, that's exactly what it does. If I go and I double tap, let's go to mission control, and let's go here. And if I do the same thing, is I could take mail, drag it to this corner, and now it fills in that space. There we go. What if I also, there's other quadrants too. If I go to the corner, you can see you now have that 4 option there. So it actually now shrinks it to that 4, and then I can take my web page, shrink it there. So now I'm reorganizing my windows very similar to this, except that you're just dragging the actual window instead. So there's multiple ways to do it. It's up to you. But again, the way you do it is you have to hit the edge. If you hit the top of the screen, it goes full screen. And then I take it, drag it over here to the corner, and now it makes it that size. So again, if I do my mission control, that's how you separate them. And again, you could just drag to the corners. Now, this has been a Windows feature forever, but Apple finally brought this out. The last thing we're going to talk about is Stage Manager. So in the mission control is you can now decide on using the feature of Stage Manager. This was introduced in iPadOS. Not everyone's a fan of this, but if you click it, it now turns Stage Manager on by default. Now what happens is all of your other windows are on the left side, kind of hanging out there temporarily, and they don't show up until your arrow is over there. So why would you do that? So, for example, if you don't want Maps to be in the way, but you still want to keep it open, that's the idea of it. Now you can just move around the environment and do things, but if you want to go back to Maps, all you got to do is click on it, and what it does is it replaces another app, so it removes it from that section. Same thing with Settings. It just remembers the last thing you worked on, and what it does is it just moves it over here. Now, what if I want to move Safari over here? That's the thing that's a little tricky about this. I don't know how to actually move it over there. There probably is a way. But in Stage Manager right now, I can't really get apps over there. One of the things you could do is you could just drag it out. You can see it dragging it out. Mail had two things in there, by the way, if you remember. So you can see I could drag Mail. Mail now has both of their windows in one area. Now these three are together as three, it's almost like a 3-window layout. So if I wanted to move this around, so let's play around here. Let's take all of these things we learned today. Let's move it over here. No, see, I don't want it to be that. So let me just go. This is where the fun part is, where you have to try to figure this all out. Okay, great. And let's move. I want to try to see if I can move this to Mission Control. My goal is to move this to Stage Manager, but I want to move all the apps. This is where things get a little confusing. I'm trying to go full screen. I'm trying to trigger it. This is where Stage Manager, I don't think really is a great tool. On the iPad, it actually has some value there. I've actually talked about that in my other videos. If you go take a look at them, some of the things I've learned inside of Stage Manager, but this is very hard to work with. I'll be real straight with you. Even trying to move it over to there, it's like giving me some difficulty. See, it only moves over here when I move it like here, and now they're together in the side here. But if I want to move them together, I can't. See, this is where I don't like Stage Manager. So Stage Manager is a feature on here. I'm going to turn it off. But honestly, I don't see this as a valuable feature whatsoever on the Mac side of things. I don't know. It exists, but I don't think it's great. Did you get anything out of this? That's my hope, is that you were able to move windows around, being able to find some of the new features in macOS Tahoe that was able to fill and arrange and move and resize, how to drag them to the windows, how to use the full screen applications on here if you wanted to use full screen. Again, full screen, you just have to click this one time and that'll actually make it a full screen app right there. And then there's other examples where you can go to Mission Control and then there's a new blank space. If you want to open up a blank desktop, you can do that where it's a completely clean desktop. And it just took some items with me. Okay. Swipe over. Now I have 4 windows. And then if I go to Mission Control, I can exit out that one window. And you can exit out Maps as well and bring it back to your normal size. So there are so many different ways to organize your stuff. Try to find a method that works for you and see if it works out for you. So I hope this was educational. It helped you out. Thank you, everyone. And I love every single one of you.